Hello, hello, hello. This is Uche Joku, and welcome to the Sneaker Principal Podcast. I am excited to be here with you this evening. First off, how was your week? Hopefully, you had a productive one, engaging your student, whether you're a teacher, an administrator, whether you're just a public education ally. If you're a parent, if you're a student, apparently some students watch this. If you're a student, hopefully you had a productive week, and I'm just full of gratitude that you're here this evening. A couple of ground rules. Very, very simple. This is a call-in show. So that means if you have something that you want to share, something you want to get off your chest, tonight is the night. Tonight is all about teacher therapy. Teacher therapy, talk about what you want to talk about what's going on in your own space, and you can be anonymous. The one thing that I ask is that you keep it clean and we keep it above board. You don't have to turn if you call in. You don't have to let us know who you are. You can just speak. We could have the camera off. That's 100% fine. But if you also want to share your face and share your name, that's okay as well. The most important thing is that we're bringing out of the dark, out from behind closed doors, those conversations that we need to have about how to improve education, how to improve the educator experience, how to even improve the relationship within schools between the stakeholders. There's this misconception that when you walk into a school, it's all is peachy and it's just the students who might be misbehaving. But a lot of times, there's a lot of things happening between the adults in the space that causes a lot of friction and makes it very hard to really, engage in the work. And a lot of you know this, and I know this. I've been a teacher. And that's why, and what I want to say is that's why I'm calling this teacher therapy. Because if you work in the school building, you are a teacher. Yes, you might not be licensed necessarily as a classroom teacher, but the kids in the room are learning from you. If you're an administrator, 99.9% of the time, you were a teacher. At least you functioned as a teacher. And sometimes a lot of us administrators forget that we were teachers and we become assistant principals, or we wear that moniker and we hold on to it for dear life. Me personally, I love still calling myself a teacher, as far as my role is concerned within the school. But in all reality, I'm a teacher from the moment that I started working in the profession all the way till my last day. It just so happened that my last role in the school was principal, main person, main entity within the building. And what was I principal of? I was a principal of teaching. So I'll say this over and over again. If you're working within a school building, even if you're in a cafeteria, you're driving a school bus, you're a teacher, there's a child out there who's watching you and learning from you. Just because you don't teach actual content does not make you a teacher. Let's be honest here. Who are our children's first teachers? Parents. Or teachers, right? It just so happened that there are people who are licensed and certified to have the professional role of teacher, and they get paid for it. And that includes administrators too, because again, I'm saying it, 99.9% of the time, you were a teacher. So this evening is all about teacher therapy. So how do you communicate with me this evening, or communicate with the audience, or with the family of people who are watching or listening? First off, comment section. If you are on either, if you're on YouTube, you can put your comments in YouTube and I will see it. I'll respond to you. I learned my lesson from last time. So I have multiple screens on. As a matter of fact, if you're watching it right now, let me see if I can, if you're listening to this through the podcast, you're not going to be able to see what I'm about to show. But if you're watching right now, I want to share with you a different camera angle to show you how crazy this looks right now to me. Which camera is that? It's about to come on. So right now, you're literally watching my setup here. This is my GoPro camera to the side. I have Twitter right here on my iPad. I have my main camera on my, this is my vertical monitor. Then I have Facebook over here, and I have LinkedIn over here. So I'm watching from all different angles. So if you're watching right now, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. I see somebody already gave me a thumbs up. Thank you. But let me know that you can, from whatever platform you are watching, that you can see me, you can hear me. The audio is fine. So if you just drop me that little thumbs up, that'll be great. I really appreciate that. Let me switch back to my main camera here. Okay. So now, apart from comments, the way you can also engage in this evening is the URL. On my screen, you see the scrolls going by. So the first thing is, if you want to join in as a video guest, you just go to the URL, tinyurl.com/tsp-video-guest. You put that into your URL on your web browser, and what's going to happen, it's going to take you to a screen. You type your name in, or you choose not to type your name in, whatever you choose. Again, if you want to be anonymous, that's 100% fine, because I do understand a lot of times as educators, we get nervous. We don't want to say anything publicly that might, you know, pull in the wrong attention towards us. I get it. And I've lived in that space. I've lived that life. So I totally understand. So what you can do is, you can stay anonymous, but hopefully you don't have an extremely unique voice that somebody might recognize, but I doubt it. At this space here, if you call in, you're potentially one of so many people on the planet that might have the similar voice as yours. But you go to that URL, tinyurl.com/tsp-video-guest. You put that in there, it'll ring straight to my computer, and then I'll put you into a green room, and you just wait in there patiently, and I'll try and get to you as soon as possible. But when you do call in, I will acknowledge you to let you know that I know that you're there, and I'll get to you as soon as I can. And then from there, I'll pull you in. You can have your camera on, you can have your camera off. Just make sure your audio is on, and then we can have a conversation, and everybody here can listen to you. Now, the other way you can also communicate, if you are technically deficit, meaning that the whole internet thing is difficult for you, I hope you can use email, because the other option is to email me at askthesneakerprincipal.com. Then in the subject line, just type in, I have something to say. And you can put into the email your question, what it is that you want to say, just briefly, so I know that's what it is that you want to talk about. And then leave your telephone number. I will not share your telephone number with general audience, but I need the telephone number, because then I can call you. And what I'll do is I'll call you directly and pull you into the call if you choose to use that option. But everything is scrolling on the screen right now, and so that's perfectly fine. So again, at any time that you feel that you want to chime in, this is the time listen, I'm calling this Teacher Therapy Friday. Teacher Therapy Friday. I am not a therapist, but I have been a coach, I've been a mentor, I've been a consultant, and I think those three spaces, and also my 17 years in education as a teacher, actually no, I'll put 18, because right out of college, I did serve in AmeriCorps at Carson High School in California, where I worked as a social work intern. I did that for a year for part of my AmeriCorps. So technically speaking, I could add that year to my 17 years professional, say 18 years. That's a grown ass, pardon me, I was about to say, I can say that. That's a grown ass man at 18, right? So I put 18 years of commitment to young people in education. And as a teacher, as a dean, as an assistant principal, as a principal, as a department head, math, science, I've done it all. So I've been on both sides of the table, that proverbial table, as a school leader, and then also as a teacher, as someone who was a subordinate. So I understand, and maybe I can give you some insight if there's something particularly you're going through that you need some advice on, or maybe you just want to hear my soft, is this baritone or bass? I'm not sure. I'm not a musical person. Voice, and then you can hear me for the next hour, and that's it. And actually, hey, we have the first call here. Go ahead and answer. And I'm just going to bring him straight in, since they're the first person to call in. And hello,
Hi, Mr.
hey, Aislinn, how
Njogu.
you doing? Do
I'm
me a
good.
favor,
How are you?
turn your my volume down so I don't hear it. If you could just turn down the volume, okay, perfect. But if you leave that up, then I can hear myself
It's okay.
repeating. Okay, so how are you doing, and how's your week, and what's going on?
I am good. My week was very productive. I'm trying to see what I can do before I start being a substitute teacher in Yonkers. So I found this organization that's called Learn to Be. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
No, learn to be. Tell me
It's
more
a
about it.
it's a tutoring center where they help youths around the United States, and it's for underachieved students. So it's for struggling families, for kids that need help in nutritional assistance, etc.
Okay, so you're going to be working. You're going to be working as a substitute teacher.
Yeah, in Yonkers.
Nice,
Yes.
nice. So
Yes.
how do you
I
feel
should
about
be
that?
starting either in November or before November. So, yeah.
What age group? What age group are you going to be working with?
I'm not sure yet, but they told me it's gonna be elementary. So I like the
That's
little kids. So
that's exciting. That's
yes, it
exciting.
is. It is.
Okay.
It's a different environment. I can't wait to see what's in store. It's a new start, a new beginning, like all of my experience in teaching has been. And I've heard from a friend that they're very like helpful when it comes to helping teachers and supporting them. Supposedly it's less stress. That's what I've heard. But we'll
Okay.
see. I mean, I can't wait. I mean, I've had some experience because I had a literacy class where we had to work at the school in Dobbs Ferry, which was near my college, Mercy College, where I went to school. So I kind of have an idea of what it's gonna be like.
Awesome. Awesome. And I'm also a fellow Mercy College alumni. My first master's degree is from Mercy College, so that's
Yes, yes,
awesome.
I remembered. Yes.
Yeah. So so tell me this. I know you're excited. Is there anything you're concerned about? Any worries? Any apprehensions, anxiety about starting this new space?
I guess my worries would be is how they would see my teachings, and also I guess the support that I'm going to be getting from them. Hopefully I'll get somewhat of the same support that I have gotten from my previous jobs. They've been giving me feedbacks, giving me suggestions, so hopefully they're not too hard, like head on, I guess. And because you have to let the teacher teach and then kind of give like a feedback or a suggestion, because I've had an experience just recently where, um, how you said earlier in your video, how there are some people, they just go into the classroom, they see one scenario when it's another scenario, when you see yourself in that scenario and it's the scenario that you think it is, but they think it's another scenario.
Yeah.
Um, so that's one of the things that I'm hoping that it won't be the case when it comes to starting to work over there. But if they give me that, I guess, that feedback and suggestion like right away, like before I even do it, that would be great, because then I can progress to be a better educator, but also know what's best for my students and what I can do better for them.
So first of all, I want to give a quick shout out to Solomon who's in the comments. Good evening to you too. So Aislinn, so I'm going to give you some. Maybe you didn't ask for this feedback for this advice, but I'm going to give it to you anyway.
Okay.
One of the things I say to teachers all the time is this, especially when you walk into a new space. It's very important that you've done your homework about the organization that you're going to be working for, or the school, or the institution. But also, it's also very important that you make it very clear what it is that you're looking for where you work. Often, we get into spaces where we're like happy to have a job or have an opportunity, and we stay quiet, until all of a sudden, what we like you mentioned, I said earlier before, what you expect is not what you're getting, and often it's not because it's the school's fault or your leader's fault. It's because often they're just moving the way they're thinking, moving along with their day and how things are. And often, we walk into spaces and we have these expectations, but we say nothing. So it's very important that as early as possible you talk, whoever your supervisor is, if it's an AP or a principal or whoever the director is, you say to them, hey, can we talk? And number one, you say, I really want to be successful at this, and 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 can you give me some tips? What are the expectations that you have of me? You know, And you'd be surprised how often they would tell you exactly what's expected. Because once you know what is expected, then you can now make sure that what you're doing is in alignment with those expectations. But often what we do, we walk into spaces that we don't ever ask. Then all of a sudden, when they come in and they hit us over the head with like a bad observation or what are you doing? Because you thought you were doing the right thing, but again, it was never clarified. And good good schools, good leaders will tell you early on. But now, let me take that back. Not necessarily good schools and good leaders, organized schools and organized leaders, will do that early on. Because running a school is hard. You've student taught. You've been in school. Like, and let's be honest, it doesn't even matter whether it's 12th grade or pre-K. There's difficulties in those spaces, and especially when dealing with children, your attention span is so focused on making sure that they're safe and all those other things that you forget sometimes that that the teachers need your attention too. So
Yeah.
just make sure once you know who your supervisor is, if it's the principal, if it's the AP or the director, whoever that role is, that you share with them. You be honest with them about your anxiety and how you want to be successful, and you ask from the beginning. Can I come to you for support? Can I send you some of my lessons early on? Like all those things. You know, and I'll tell you this: when I was a teacher, I wanted all the bad feedback. Like I wanted it because I figured this is my mentality. If you tell me what I'm doing wrong or what I need to do better, then I know. And since I know, I'm going to focus on making sure those things are better. And keep telling me, keep pushing me, because what's going to happen is eventually those things are no longer going to be an issue. So I can focus on other things to get better. So I
Yes,
really,
I,
I
I
really,
totally
yeah,
agree. I want to start off by saying I really appreciate the advice that you have given me. I've always appreciated your advice now to this day until when I was in high school, because especially when you have done your videos in the past couple of months, I see that when you say something, like I'm like in my head thinking, okay, I got this right. I'm doing everything okay. Like I have that priority checklist when it comes to you saying these things, because I want to have those standards, but to be like for myself as a person, as an individual, knowing that I'm doing my job right. Because if I don't have that checklist, I know that something's gonna throw me off
yeah,
in that mindset, but also in my heart too, when it comes to helping the kids be the best that they can be. I really appreciate that coming from you. I really do, because I still remember when you helped my parents, especially when I was in school. Like nobody has ever done that for my parents, and when you did that and when Becca has done that, like I appreciated every day going to school, because I knew that at the end of the day I was going to have a good support system and my parents were going to have a good support system. um and especially how you said with, take like we think about a lot of things when we're in the classroom and all this stuff. Like for me, I like the good feedback. Like I've always liked it, but more I like when you give me suggestions. When, let's say I'm doing a lesson, and let's say I do something right, tell me immediately right there the suggestion, because then I can work on it more and I can see, okay, this student is this type of learner, this student is another type of learner. Okay, I'll put that into my lesson. This child likes, for example, let's say ABCs, like I'll put that in there because it makes them more engaged and want to have fun, and also increases in their vocabulary. So that's the thing that I love to do, when it comes to my lessons, is make it engaging for them, because I know how that felt like to go to school and to be excited, to be interested in learning about, let's say, like planets and the stars and all these things. So it's something that I enjoy to do. But also how you said, like, just with knowing those things in that mindset, because if you don't have that, how can we be better teachers? How can we make the child better? Especially during the pandemic, like for me, that was something that I love to do every day, like coming to teach, coming to knowing the kids love and affection, and knowing that they love me for how I teach, even though sometimes I may not think like, okay, am I really a good teacher or not? You know, um, and I was going through a lot in the pandemic. Like I was going through a lot because like my family was like getting sick, and My two uncle passed away from the pandemic, so
I'm so
it
sorry
was
to
a
hear
lot
that.
to take in. And thank you for your condolences. But anyway, but just even now, like going through that next path of like going to this new start, this new adventure, I have at least a story to tell those kids, because I can tell them at the end of the day, a lot of teachers left the schools, how but I can say in my story, I didn't give up when it was this life-changing event in my life. And I loved coming to my job, to my old job. Like the kids, they always showed me that everything was going to be okay, even though I was having a horrible day at times, or a day that I didn't even want to go to work, that like physically I didn't want to be there, but mentally I was there you know so I really appreciate the advice that you've given me, and I know that I'm doing it right because at least someone that has helped me is showing me the way and is showing me the good path of being a better educator. And I'd rather let it be from somebody that I know than somebody that I don't even know, a stranger. And especially in the interview, I loved how the director, she even told me in the interview, like when we finished up and talked, she said, I really loved how you mentioned this because a lot of our students in the pandemic struggled through this, and I know that you would be a good asset to helping them. And when I heard that, I was like, this is completely different from all the other years that I've been an educator, and also that I've worked in the school system. So
Thank you so much for that.
you're welcome.
So I, so so my heart is really filled right now because for those of you who are listening, Aislinn was literally. When did you get to Becca? What grade was that?
I got into Becca in ninth grade.
Ninth grade. So,
Yes.
so and
And I was president of the Welcome Club.
yeah, yeah,
For those that you don't know. So I pretty much welcome new students into the school because I knew how that was like to go into a new school and making friends and getting new teachers and stuff. And it was life changing for me because I got to see the same struggles, and also different obstacles that they were facing at the time. And at the same time, I was grateful to be a part of that change in the school. And it's funny because a couple of years ago, I went on the train and I saw this girl. She was from our school. And so I go up to her and I say to her, oh, I went there. I'm a graduate, the first graduating class. And she says to me, oh, I love Becca because it's a good school and it's helped me a lot when it comes to academics. And I said to her, is the Welcome Club still there? And she said, yes, but it's called a different name. Supposedly it's called Club Rainbow, I think it was, or something like that. She said it was called. So just to know that it's still there, I'm so proud of like the school and also the students after me still having that there,
yeah.
because I thought it was going to be a dead end maybe after like 3 years, but
So let me give a
maybe the
quick
story
shout
that they
out.
heard
So a quick shout out to
really
Bronx
impacted
Early
them.
College Academy. So that's Becca, Bronx Early College
Yes.
Academy, in the South Bronx, downtown, actually downtown Bronx, right by the courthouse by Yankee Stadium,
Yep.
and I was the dean, and then became assistant principal there, and that was the beginning of my leadership, experience. So when Aislinn arrived there, I was the dean at the time, and by the time I left, which was year, I actually we were there at the same time. I was there for 4 years. When you graduated
Yeah.
is when I went on to another school to be assistant principal and eventually become a principal. So it's very important, and I just want to say this: those of you who are listening, if you're a school leader, if you're a teacher, the impact you have on your students is incredible. Because think about this: Aislinn was a freshman when I was just, I think, yeah, at the time I was just the dean, and the things that I did and things that I said there, I did not think, I just thought I was just doing my job. That was the way I looked at it. I'm just doing my job to serve the students, the parents, the teachers, my principal. That was my job, and it's interesting because Aislinn's not the only teacher from that graduating class. We have several teachers from that graduating class, and it's funny to see that because those were the same kids who were like, "Yo, I hate Mr. So and So. I hate this class. I hate that class," and now they're teachers. But the thing is that's amazing is because we created a space of love, of family. Because I will honestly say this: I worked in many schools, And like that's the way teachers say we don't have favorites. But listen, of all the schools I've worked at, my favorite school was Bronx Early College Academy. But that's where I came into my own as a leader. But also, that was also a school where I got to see a class grow for the first time from freshmen all the way to seniors, and those relationships lasted beyond that. Like a lot of them kept in communication as they went to college and graduated. A lot of them now people are now having families and their children are getting married, and it's so powerful how much impact that we have as educators in the life of young people, and not just young people, but in the life of their family and their families as well. Because again, who'd have thunk that ninth grade young lady from back all those years ago is now an educator with a master's degree and listen, this is what I see the world. I can't wait to talk to Superintendent, Aislinn. I can't wait to see maybe one day maybe Chancellor. We don't know, but that's how it starts. But you just don't know because I'm pretty sure when you were in the ninth grade, you didn't think that you'd be sitting here right now with me talking about all these years and all the things you've accomplished. You just don't know. And again, I'm a man of faith, and I'll tell you, it's God's grace. The work that we do as educators, that is God's work, and that's in my opinion. Because when we pour into young people, we're pouring into our future. So, Aislinn, thank you so much again, for joining me this evening for popping the bottle because you were the first one tonight. So. And hopefully we inspire other people to call in. So again,
Yes.
Please let us know. We're on on Sundays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So I can't wait to hear, and I'm sure the audience can't wait to hear how you're doing in the new position. And I can't wait to talk to you soon. All right.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I'm so grateful to even be a part of this because this is not even just having a voice. This is like a movement for me, like a whole big movement because, you know, we may not have like the sign saying like, oh yeah, we want this change or what's so not, but like with our voices, that's more than enough. And I'm very happy to even help you and give you that feedback and that support. I've always have been supportive with you, so anytime I'm always here. Last time I was gonna try to talk, but then you had to go because it was late and stuff, so I wanted to pop in before anything and say what I had to say. Because you know me, I'm very like mindful. And once I have something to say, that boom, I say it, and
I know.
then I don't have other things to not other things to say, but then I don't, the thought is not meaningful if I don't say it now. So,
All right.
yeah,
All right. Again, thank you so much. And we're
you're
going to invite other
welcome.
callers to
I
come
hope
in,
that your
and
wife is well and the kids are good.
they're
Okay,
doing amazingly well. Thank you so much, Aislinn.
you're welcome.
All right. And give my regards to your family and your parents. Okay.
I will.
All
I
right.
will. I always tell them that you say hi and everything. And I always tell them about your podcast. They have been watching, especially my mom, because sometimes
Awesome.
I'm like in my living room and we're with the family and I'm like watching it and she's like, "Oh, it's Mr. Joko." So so you're a big like number one in our house right now. So
That's awesome. That's
yes,
awesome.
yes, yes.
All
You
right.
always
So
have our support, Mr. Njoku, and I
thank you
really,
so
really
much.
thank you because
Thank you.
without you I would not be here. I'm
No,
serious.
you did that. All I was just one of many guides, just one of many guides.
I
But
know.
all right, again, thank you again. Have an amazing night, and we'll talk
You
soon. Okay.
too.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. So again, like I was saying, this is honestly, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna speak for myself. That was my therapy, because so often, I look at what's happening in the world and in communities, and I'm always like, man, what's going, especially with our young people. I'm always like, what can we do to fix all the ills that are happening with our young people? And then I have opportunities to talk to my former students, and I just get filled with just joy because I'm like, man, all the work, all the years was not for nothing. Because at the end of the day, if we just impact one child, and they become a productive adult, who again, are going to take over. Because that's the thing. Our kids, our children, we're supposed to prepare them to take over. We're not preparing them just to sit on the sidelines. Because again, one day that child in that classroom, that child in that on that corner, is going to have a role to play as an adult, and it's our responsibility to do that. So Again, if you're listening, please, you can call in. You can join us. You can join us live, using the URL that's scrolling in front of you, which is tinyurl.com/tsp video dash guest, and you'll come in on a live feed on the video. And again, if you don't want to turn your camera on, you don't have to. I know sometimes people might want to share something or talk about a topic that they don't really want necessarily their face shown, especially if it's something specific to your school. So I totally understand that. And then if you're also interested in having me call you directly because maybe your technology is not up to par, maybe it's better for me to just call you on the phone. I can do that. I can actually call you and speak to you. And all I do is I ask that you shoot me an email at askthesneakerprincipal.com. So again, that's ask at thesneakerprincipal.com. And in the subject line, just type in, I have something to say. And you leave your comment there, your telephone number, and I'll call you. And again, you can leave comments. This is I'm streaming live right now on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn. And I want to give a special shout out to Randy Cornish. It says here, I just shared a comment a little while ago. I just want to make sure I acknowledge it. It says, thank you for your content. It is much appreciated. And Randy, thank you for watching, and I really appreciate the support. Real quick, before I continue, I'm going to ask, if you're watching right now, do me a huge favor and please like, share, support, follow, but especially share. It costs you nothing to just share the content you're watching right now and just share it on your platform, so at least it can have an extended reach. What time is it right now? It's 10:33, and again, the lines are open. So if you have anything to say, any questions, any comments, you're more than likely welcomed to jump back on. To actually to join me in the conversation. Something I've been thinking about and just reflecting. I've been doing a lot of reflecting. Like again, this is therapy. This is teacher therapy on Friday. So if there's anything on your mind, so I want to share with you what's on my mind. And please feel free to interrupt me. Interrupt me with an email. Interrupt me with comments, and or questions. And you're definitely welcome to interrupt me by joining me on a live feed. Check an email real quick. Nothing there. So one of the things I've been reflecting on is how much, and again, hopefully I don't offend any of my colleagues who are principals, but how much trauma teachers go through and in the hands of their leaders, whether it's the principal, the department chairs, or assistant principals. And often those teachers, when they pursue leadership, they take that trauma with them and unknowingly inflict it on the next generation of teachers or those coming behind them. This is something that I've seen personally, and I asked myself, like, have I done it myself as a principal or as an assistant principal? And I'll be honest with you, maybe I have, maybe unknowingly, maybe I've snapped at a teacher or I've gone, I wasn't sensitive enough to the needs of a teacher or even a subordinate in the administration, because in my head, I was moving with a sense of urgency, but not really understanding what the individual was going through. And I had to reflect on that, because I remember the first time that happened to me, where I was in a position where a principal, it was actually an assistant principal, could have been more supportive, but rather decided to try to the whole military, I'll break you down, then build you back up. And that's something that there's an old school military perspective, and I went through, I went through in military school, I went through in ROTC, I went through in the Marine Corps boot camp with this whole notion of we'll break you down, we're going to tear you apart. So when you're just a pile of rubble on the floor, then we'll build you back up into something bigger and better and badder. But that's not how it works. So I'll tell you a story. This would have been, so for those of you who are new to my story, I came into teaching as a New York City teaching fellow, which is a program. It's an alternative certification program that here in New York City, and I applied for the program. I got in. Actually, I didn't get in, but then I guess they had a second round of decisions, and I got in on the second round. And I remember And okay, the way this works is this: once you're in, it's kind of like Marine Corps boot camp. It's like teaching fellows is like the teaching boot camp of education. And what they do is that you come in and you go through like a summer intensive. They throw at you all these skills and all these tools to get you into the classroom by the fall. So you start sometime like late June, early July. Yeah, late June, early July. So kind of like right before the end of the school year, going to summer school, and then you're going through this summer intensive. And the summer intensive, I mean, literally, you're in classes every day. And what the traditional teachers who will go to a traditional program do in two years, sometimes 3 years, we do it. We're knocking it out in one summer, because in the fall we will be teaching. We will be licensed in teaching. We still have to take the exams and everything else. It's just accelerated, but you're going to be in the classroom teaching. And I remember they had us doing our student teaching, our summer placement, which was only for like two or 3 weeks. It was really, really quick. And I had been selected to be a teaching fellow in the Bronx, teaching secondary school special education. And I remember my placement was in a math classroom in summer school. And mind you, never taught before. I'm sitting in the classroom, not sitting in the class, but I'm in the classroom, and I'm trying to figure out the space of being in the classroom with students over summer. And then I'm also responsible for teaching a certain number of periods during my time in that placement. So I remember this might have been my first time, but I was in the front of the classroom, and I think I was teaching decimal placement or something like that. And mind you, again, I don't have the courses behind me. Literally everything that's happened over the course of that first summer. This was 2005. And I'm sitting there going through the math problem. My cooperating teacher who's actually responsible for the class, she's sitting there at her desk, I don't know, eating French fries or whatever. Like, she was a hot mess. No, Miss Washington, it's many Miss Washingtons out there, but if you're the Miss Washington I'm talking about, you know who you are. Yeah, you didn't do those kids justice that summer at all. And but I remember sitting there, and I, in my mind, being like, I really want to be good at this. I really want to be prepared. So if she's not going to be supportive and be helpful in my development over this summer, I'm just going to do it myself. So I remember I prepared this lesson on decimal decimal places, and I'm going through it. The notions of teaching the kids how to move decimals, and the decimal placement when you're multiplying, and I'm doing my best. Mind you, I know how to do it myself, but explaining to a student's one thing, and I hadn't mastered the whole workshop model yet. Mind you, I'm brand new to this. And all of a sudden, the assistant principal walks in, and she walks in, she sits down, and I'm not easily rattled. I'm just not. I'm just not easily rattled. Having from growing up in a Nigerian household, and if you're Nigerian or you're African, you know what I'm talking about. When you grow up in an African household, very little rattles you. And then my corporate experience, my military experience, very little rattles me. So she comes in and she sits down, and I'm going through it. I'm going through the lesson and everything else. But I'm also happy she's there, because I'm hoping that she'll give me some positive feedback. And for me, all feedback is positive. Because I can learn something from either good feedback or bad feedback. And I'm going through a lesson. Then all of a sudden, this person, this assistant principal, start asking questions with the intention of tripping me up. It wasn't like questions to help me clarify or help clarify to her what I was doing. It was just like, she was just like kind of being a bully. So she was pretending to be a student, pretty much, and she would ask questions like, but are you sure that's right? Or that don't make any kind of sense. And like just little things like that, well, which I was like, okay, you're an assistant principal, and you already know I'm a teaching fellow. You know this is probably my first time ever, and everything was being done, and it was so bad that the kids were all looking at her like, yo, what's she doing? And I think one of the kids actually said that, if I remember correctly, actually under their breath was like, yo, she wildin'. And and I just sat there like, yo, what is this about? And then after the class was over and done with, and I was really bothered by that. I was like, okay, so but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give it the benefit of that. Maybe just her style of leadership. So I did approach her after class. She was in the hallway. I was like, I just want to ask you if there's any feedback you can give me from the lesson. And she said no. And I was like, nothing. You sat in the classroom. You sat for the whole lesson, and you actually even interjected. And she was like, yeah, I just wouldn't hire you. I thought, okay. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's good, because I probably wouldn't want to work for you. That was my mouth. I was like, I probably wouldn't want to work for you. And my reasoning was, if I'm new to this, and I'm a teaching fellow, that we are all like, we're alternative license, kind of like emergency hires. And I'm coming to you for feedback. Even if you wouldn't hire me, tell me something. But I just remember just feeling like, and then her stance, she wouldn't look me in the eye. She was kind of like I was wasting her time, like I was like a piece of dirt. I just remember that. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, nah, man, like I could not work for somebody like this. And it messed with my head, because I just wanted to like flip out, but I chose not to, because I was like, yo, you don't talk to people like this. But in reflecting on that issue, I'm asking myself, where did she learn how to do that? Who told her that was okay? Is this just her personality, or is that how she was trained? Or is that how she was treated? And again, I don't have any evidence to say either or, but I do know that it's very important that the way we treat our subordinates, our teachers, our colleagues is one of respect and with a growth mindset. Because again, imagine if I was a weaker minded person. I might have been like, you know what, I might have cussed her out, and then kicked out of the program. Or if I just had a weaker temperament, I might have just said, no, this is too hard, I can't do this, and walk away. And this past 17 years probably wouldn't have happened. And this was like literally maybe week 3, summertime in summer school with this assistant principal. And thank God I don't remember what she looks like. I don't remember her name. And maybe I blocked it out intentionally, because, I don't want to, that's a good thing, because I'll probably try to find her and be like, hey, remember me? Look at me now. But again, it's one of those things that's very, very important, how we treat teachers and how we treat our colleagues. And trust me, I know for a fact that I've had my moments where, I've probably been caught in the wrong time or space and have not lived up to what I'm saying right now. But I can say that 95% of the time I've really focused on that, making sure that I'm more mindful, because again, listen, I've had teachers who came into the school and joined my team, that honestly, at face value, in the beginning, you were like, oh man, this is going to be a long year. Or like sometimes even teachers say it. Even teachers say this. Oh, that one, they're not going to last. They're not going to make it past. What is it? They're not going to make it past Thanksgiving or Halloween. Why do we use the holidays as markers of when people are not going to make it through? And but then those same teachers, I made a point to meet with them and talk to them and say, let me look at your lesson plan. How can I support you? What is it that you're missing? Go into that classroom, giving them feedback. I was doing this as a dean. And in New York City as a dean, you're not instructional. Your job is to be the warden, to make sure that the kids are behaving themselves. But I think the leader in me, the educator in me, the educator I wanted to be, the leader I wanted to be, I was never opposed to giving feedback, or at least to the best of my ability, especially with new teachers. And I've seen teachers who honestly even told me themselves, like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. Maybe, I don't think I'm going to come back. And all these years later, they're assistant principals or they're master teachers, because again, they needed a kind word. They needed some kind of support that pushed them forward. And often we don't do that, because we're too busy or we just get caught up in our own nonsense. And a lot of times with school leaders, it's ego. It's ego. You get that you get that new title, and all of a sudden you're throwing on your wingtip shoes or your or your high heels, and then you're clicking and clacking down the hallway, and all of a sudden you're better than anybody else. And I don't agree with that. That's why I always wore sneakers, because it grounded me. It reminded me like I am no better than the students. I'm no better than they are. The only difference is I have a little age on me, a little experience, and I have to be authentic. I'm not saying that sneakers all of a sudden makes you more authentic, but for me it was like very important that I was rooted in the reality of the community that I was serving and the reality of who I am, because because I lived in that space, I was truly able to be of service to the community, and not just the students. Service is also about how you treat teachers and parents, the staff in the cafeteria, the custodial staff. There is no custodial staff in 17 years that can say that I was ever disrespectful, or like, listen, I used to ask for the broom and shovel, so I sweep my own office, because it's something in me would not, especially for a long time, until it just wasn't effective. I'd be like, no, I got that. I'll tell the custodian, I got that. I'll bring the trash out, because I just didn't have it in me to be served like that. But again, these were people who played a major role in keeping the buildings beautiful. The bus drivers. It's funny. I was talking to somebody about this. The people who drive our buses, we don't show them enough respect, because that's a job I could not do. I could not be a bus driver, a school bus driver. I could not do it, because first of all, I'm always partially panicking when I have my children in the car, my two kids in the car with me. I'm driving driving Miss Daisy, because those are the most precious things in my life. So to be in a bus with potentially 50 children who are the most precious things in the lives of 50 families, that's incredible. But think about this. When was the last time you saw a bus driver and you say, hey, how you doing? Thank you for getting the kids to school safely. We don't. We just get mad at them when the bus is late. And then we get mad at them when they're mad because we got the kids out late, and then now they're off their schedule. But when was the last time you said thank you to a bus driver, a school bus driver? We don't. And if you do, then you are a saint. Because I know for years I didn't, until I thought about it. And I'll tell you when I really started saying thank you to bus drivers. My 1 year that I worked in Las Vegas as an assistant principal at elementary school, the only year I worked elementary school, and you would have the buses who would come, but this is not like New York where, it's like buses show up, traffic is done. The buses would line up into the little semicircle in front of the school, and kids knew what buses they were going on, and it would be like maybe like 20 buses. And you'd be out there, and I'll be in my vest directing buses and everything else, and every child had to get on the right bus. The bus drivers had to be attentive and all the different things. And they were so organized. And then I saw bus drivers giving kids high five and how was your day today and everything else. And I was like, they are part of the educators complex, the educator industrial complex. I just made up a term. They are integral into the function of our schools. It's just that their job is to make sure that your child gets to school, not just physically safe, but mentally as well. And again, that's when I started thanking bus drivers. I thank you so much for what you do. I saw you do, make that kid smile. That's dope. And I inquire and get to know about the bus drivers, and incredible stories. I remember I met this bus driver who was like, I've been driving buses for 25 years. And I look at them, I'm like, somebody might say, well, how would you just be driving buses? Didn't you want more? But then but I listened, and they were like, it's a privilege to be the one to make sure that these babies get to school safely. And I was like, wow. Real quick, actually, I have a comment right here. Let's see. So Brother Solomon says, I'm dealing with this now. One of my assistant principals gives me a hard time because she feels threatened by my abilities. My principal has mentioned that I would be a great AP and has given me ... Okay. So I'm going to tell you a story. And hopefully this helps you, Brother Solomon. In my career, that's happened quite a few times. Quite a few times where I've had, especially when I started moving to leadership. And I'll tell you a specific story when I went to Vegas. Because I remember I mentioned I was only in Vegas for 1 year. And I'm going to tell you why I was in Vegas for 1 year. I'm going to try to keep this really short. I had applied for a program in Las Vegas where they were recruiting for principals nationwide, but they had a shortage. And at that point in time in my career, I was actually the assistant principal at the school where Aislinn was at. Actually, you know what? Before I proceed, let me read the rest of this comment. It says here, my principal has mentioned that I would be a great AP and has given me, remove that one, add the next one, more responsibilities. The one AP goes out of her way to criticize, ridicule me in front of others. I would not let that stop. And I would not let that stop me. What God has for me is for me. Yes. Yes. And so that's exactly it. Because the reality is this. What is meant for you is going to be meant for you. And you don't let, no matter what you do, it's going to be somebody backbiting. My mother used to use that term, backbiting. So it's going to be somebody has something to say. Somebody's not going to feel good about you being there because it threatens them. So when I went to Vegas, I was actually, that was my last year at Bronx Early College Academy. And I decided with this class that was graduating, Aislinn was part of, that I wanted, because it had been a tough couple of years for me, a tough couple of years. If you've watched my previous videos about my journey towards becoming a principal, you will know what happened there. So I decided, you know what, things were not working out for me as far as my pursuit of leadership, because I wanted to be a principal. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to head back west. I'm from California. That's where I grew up, and my family was back west. So I was like, you know what? And at that point in time, my mother was living in Las Vegas, which is just literally 3 hours or so outside of, give or take outside of Los Angeles. So I was like, okay, let me try Vegas. And then there was this program recruiting for principals. So I applied. I was accepted. They were like, top candidate, come out here. We have a school for you to be a principal. I showed up, and there was no school. I guess they over-recruited, or whatever the case may be, or they just didn't know what to do with me. So they eventually said, listen, we're still trying to work out opportunity for you, but in the interim, why don't you just be an assistant principal and learn our system? So I was like, all right, fine. So I'm thinking they're going to put me in a secondary school because my career has been entirely middle and high school. Becca was a 6-12, which is literally middle and high school together. And I worked in a Seoul high school, and I worked in 2 middle schools. So they threw me so they told me my placement, it was an elementary school, which was like, okay. I was like, what? Elementary school? I don't know nothing about elementary school. So they threw me into the school, and I'm not going to give last names, but I'm going to give a first name. The principal's name was Hillary. And it's funny, how do I remember that name? Because Hillary Banks, but I swear to you, it was like Hillary Banks from the Fresh Prince reincarnated as a principal. I got there, and mind you, here in New York, principals pick their APs unless you're put into a school where the APs are already there. But if the AP is coming to you, you get to vet them and interview them and then accept them, and then hire them to be part of your team. I was just literally just placed there. Like one day she just found out you get an AP. So I show up, and I knew it was a problem. Let me tell you when I knew it was a problem. I was in my office setting up. Set up my office. It was a nice office. And I'm putting up my degrees. And this was the last time I put up degrees. The last time I ever put degrees up in my office. And I put up my degree from the University of Rochester, New York. My master's degree in upper education from Mercy College in Dobbs Ferry, New York. Then I put up my master's degree in educational leadership from Teachers College, Columbia University. Yes, Ivy League. I'm very proud of that degree because if you know my story and knew where I started from, I should not have been even on the sidewalk of Columbia University. But I went there and I did my thing and got my 3.9 GPA. Very proud of it. So the degree was on the wall. And Hillary walks into my office and she's like, how's everything settling down? Like, good. She's like, oh, I see you're setting up your office and it looks nice. And she looks up on the wall and she stares at that degree. She just stared at it. I was a little confused. Like, what is she looking at? And And she looked back at me, and her face changed. It was the weirdest thing, but it wasn't like it was just like like she had a static face. Her demeanor changed and everything. And I didn't understand, and I just felt like from that point she was a little bit flippant. In the beginning, she was resistant to me, but because she didn't ask for an AP. But then I think then she got comfortable with the idea of getting her support. But when she saw that degree, something changed in her. So then I went to her office for some meeting, and she had the degrees up on the wall. And her degree was from her degree in leadership was from a. Listen, I don't want to play anybody. You know, education is education, degree is degree. I've never been one to be like, oh my God, this is where you got your degree from. But let's put it like this: the the school that she got her degree from definitely I believe made her feel inadequate in my presence, and she made sure to make it very clear to me who the boss was, in the way she spoke to me in front of staff, the way she degraded me privately and in public. I could tell you stories of how she even spoke to me crazy in front of parents and kids. And the number of times she told me, this is my school. This is my school. And I was like, first of all, I'm not even an elementary school person. I'm middle school, high school. They threw me in here because they're trying to figure out what to do with me. And clearly you needed help, you know. And let me tell you how bad it got. It got so bad that by the month of May, was it May? By the month of April, actually, I had been written up so many. She'd written me up. First of all, I had never been written up in my whole entire career till I got to Vegas. And I got written up for everything possible. Like, it was just the weirdest thing. Some of the stuff I got written up for, like, not communicating this over here, not doing this over here. But it was things that were just so like, wait a minute, I got written up for that? And eventually, the straw that brought the camel's back is when she wrote me up for corporal punishment, for verbal abuse. You know, and I'll tell that story another time. But what happened, what she wrote me up for, is not what happened. There were students there, there were parents there, there were teachers there who all vouched for me and said, yo, you're going too far. That's not what happened. Not even close. And eventually, I got removed. No due process. I got removed from there, and I got sent to central office, and where I was kind of like in a rubber room. Like, I wasn't allowed in the school building until this thing was being investigated. And I just resigned. I was like, you know what, I'm good. You know, because again, jealousy or whatever it is, you're trying to come after me and take away my livelihood. And so what ended up happening was I came back to New York. And my whole entire career was disrupted for a few months. But I came back, this was 2014. By 2015, I was back to being an assistant principal, and by 2016, I was a principal. So it's funny because sometimes when people are trying to come at you and destroy you, all they're doing is setting you up for greater glory. But again, when this whole thing went down in 2014, when I say, I was like, man, I made the worst mistake of my life. I left what I knew in New York, and I went to Vegas, and then pretty much got like destroyed, and that's how I was thinking about it. But now I look back, you know, her work to try to I don't know, to ruin my career or do whatever it's jealousy, whatever the case is, didn't work. So, Brother Salam, I'm telling you to say, just keep being the excellence that you are. It's that simple. It doesn't matter what people have to say or how they feel. If you're excellent, you're excellent. If you're on top of your game, you're on top of your game. Period. You know, I'm going to use a sports metaphor. No matter how much people want to say about Jordan or his personal issues, whatever the case is, he's still the greatest. No matter what people want to say about Kobe and his ego and all this other stuff, still the greatest. You know, Muhammad Ali's mouth, still the greatest. Mike Tyson's antics, still the greatest. You know, but all these men all had the same thing. And women too, Serena Williams and, you know, Dominic Dawes, like all of them, the one thing they all had was that insufferable work ethic. They just did not stop. Excellence was the call of the day for them. Sense of urgency was the flavor of their lives. And when you work like that, and you know who you're serving. And who do we serve? We serve our children and their families for the greater good of society. As long as they're in that space, trust me, you know, the people who want to break you down will wake up one day, open their eyes, and they'll be serving you. And listen, I have so many stories of APs who disrespected me so crazy when I was a dean. And the craziest thing in the world is to go to a meeting and sit there and look across the room and be like, wait a minute, is that AP so-and-so? And they look at you and they see you and they will approach you and you haven't seen them a couple of years and they're like, hey, Uche, oh my God, what are you up to these days? I'm doing pretty good. Where are you working now? Oh, where are you teaching now? Oh no, I'm the principal of so-and-so. What are you doing now? Oh, you're still an AP. Listen, no shade. That's wonderful. But I remember when you tried to destroy me. I think about Hillary. I think about Hillary all the time. Not because I'm mad at her or anything like that. I'm grateful. I would love to find her and say, Hillary, thank you. Because your attempt to destroy me led to the sneaker principal, led to the career that I've had, led to all the students I've been able to impact. So thank you. So I'm going to stop there. The time now is 11:02. Brother Solomon, I'm just put on the screen your comment. Thank you, good brother. Great advice. Just be great. Be amazing. You know, that's the thing. No matter how much they want to come after you, as long as your stuff is on point, they could do their worst. And guess what? You will always come out on top. Whether you're a student, whether you're a teacher, whether you work in the cafeteria, or whoever you are, just be the greatness that God intended for you to be. And see what happens. See what happens. Y'all. It is time for me to go to bed. I gotta be up early. Tomorrow is daddy day tomorrow. Daddy daycare day. It's me and my two munchkins, you know, and we're gonna have I always laugh because my son has a trip, so it's gonna be a very interesting day tomorrow, and I'll probably share the story with you next time I see you guys. Again, hopefully you had a great week. Be blessed. You know that you're appreciated for the work that you do with our children, whether you are an educator or whether you're a parent or whether you're just an ally who believes in the work that needs to be done for our children. So again, have an amazing, amazing night. Be well, and I'll talk to you soon, all right? Peace.
And now he's been promoted. His job, principal.